Welcome to episode 32 of Shane Talks 99, July 30th, 1999. Richard Gere, Julia Roberts, Hector Elizondo, Larry Miller, directed by Gary Marshall. All of these things worked so well in Pretty Woman. Why didn't they work at all in this film, in 1999's Runaway Bride? Like a quick recap of Runaway Bride, if you don't remember, Richard Gere is a New York City columnist. He writes about relationships. Runs into a guy at a bar who tells him this story about a girl who ditches guys on their wedding day. Big plot twist in the middle of the movie. Turns out that guy was one of the three guys that she ditched at the altar. So Richard Gere writes an article about her based on all of the stuff that this jilted lover tells him. Doesn't do any fact checking, like normal stuff that a professional New York columnist who has an editor who should probably fact check him also or have a peon do it for them. Yeah, all right, so the plot doesn't completely work out, but like that's the least of the concerns here. Anyway, Richard Gere writes this story, ends up getting fired for not doing his fact checking, and then gets offered the chance to get his job back if he goes and actually writes like a real piece about her, and like interviews her and people that know her, and like gets the real story about why she's ditching these men on their wedding day. And so he does. And then this tries to give us a rom-com, and it completely lacks any and all believability as far as like this relationship goes. Like the entire script is really poorly constructed. It slogs along very slowly through some really dumb and boring and like annoyingly bad situations. And now, like, don't get me wrong, there's stuff in this movie that I like. And like I don't hate this movie in any way. This movie is fine. It's a very blah movie. Like I enjoyed scenes where he goes and he talks to her exes. He talks to the guys that she left at the altar and gets their stories. Like that's kind of cool. I like when he's talking to her family and like her female friends and stuff like that. Like I mean, Richard Gere is a suave dude, and like he pulls off this, guy that can get information out of everybody. And so like it's just like it's a plot device that would have worked in like the majority of any other rom-com, and like if any other actors were doing this, like it probably would be pulled off better. But like they had really good chemistry in Pretty Woman, and I don't know why it's completely lacking and missing in this movie. Like I don't know if they were intentionally trying to not redo those characters, and so they made acting choices that just resulted in poor just poor performances as far as they go together. Like any other two actors probably could have pulled off better this really bad script that they were dealing with, but like it's like they consciously sabotaged what this movie could have been because they were afraid of it being like Pretty Woman. Like if they played those characters too similar, like if you would have given me like Michael Douglas and Taya Leone and then like put Ben Affleck in there in the role of Bob, like this flick probably would have been far superior to what we got. And like I use those actors as examples because they were all attached at one point to be in this movie before it went through different phases and whatnot. I think this movie took an extended amount of time to actually get made. Um, with some turnover in the cast, and I think there was a different director at one point and stuff like that. So like if they just wouldn't have tried to make Pretty Woman 2 and then had two actors that didn't want chemistry with each other, like this film might have been a little better, a little more enjoyable. Like, and truth be told, like my favorite parts of this movie are like the side characters. Like neither one of the leads like are my favorite part. Like Chris Maloney, he does a good job with the bad character that he was given. Like I enjoy all the sports analogies and sports cliches and stuff like that. And like Chris Maloney at least finds a way to kind of make it humorous, even though it's really poorly written. I'm a huge Joan Cusack fan, so I really enjoy the scenes that she's in. Like I specifically enjoy the moment where like she realizes she's talking to Richard Gere's character after she just got done shit talking Richard Gere's character. Like her facial expression, like her realization of who she was talking to, like that's really well done there. Rita Wilson is obviously a great actress. She's a lot of fun, but like unfortunately, she doesn't really bring a lot to her character. She's got a couple of very mediocre scenes that she's in. Big fan of Donnell Logue. He does an amazing movie called The Tao of Steve. I highly recommend that one. Scream 2's Laurie Metcalf is in this movie, does a good job with her very small scenes that she has. And then Richard Kimball's dead wife herself, Stella Ward. This might be the only other movie that I actually like remember her being in other than The Fugitive, but like she has one scene at the beginning of the movie in the bar, and I unfortunately when I just rewatched it had to look her up because I was like, oh, she looks so familiar. Who is that? I found out it's Richard Kimball's dead wife. So all the side characters just have really good scenes and have some good dialogue and stuff like that, but like it just doesn't hold up to making this like a good movie in any way. And like so, like I said, I find this movie to be very bland. It's like it's just okay. I don't hate it, but I don't think it's like a great pinnacle of romantic comedies. But I always thought that like I was the outlier. Like I've known a lot of people in my life who really enjoyed the movie Runaway Bride. So I always was like, oh, like I'm just the weird one. Like I just don't get the movie. And like I thought maybe rewatching it might change that. It didn't. It's still a very blah movie. I don't like the pacing. I don't like the development of their relationship. I don't think it flows right in any way. And so like I decided to go look it up on Rotten Tomatoes and found out that like I'm not in the minority about this. Like it holds a 46% critic score and a 52% audience score. So like an F, like a bad report card grade. Like I'm not in the minority. I just and those numbers kind of put it right where I think it is. Like again, I guess I just know a lot of people that like the movie and don't know as many people who don't. So like I don't know, like I said, there are things about this movie that I like. I like the fact that like the analysis of her character having like I don't know, I guess like what could be considered like imposter syndrome, like her self-realization that she was doing things to try to be in relationships and she was like taking aspects of the guys that she was with and trying to make them like pass them off as her own to make her think that that's what a relationship was like. And then I don't know why it took her three different times at the altar to realize that that wasn't like who she was. Like some of that stuff is okay, but it just wasn't like executed very well. And like honestly, like so like I really enjoy the luau scene. When Richard Gere has to come to Julia Roberts' defense. Like all of her friends and family are making fun of her and like, making jokes about her ditching guys at the altar. And like he steps in and like, it belongs in a rom-com. Like it belongs like a I'm gonna stand up for this woman that I have feelings for. Like you guys need to treat her better and stuff like that. Like I thought it worked really well. I like that scene. But then immediately following that, how angry she gets at him for defending her, like that just is part of this script that doesn't like line up for me. I don't understand her reaction the way that it was. Like, and I again, it's very uneven and unbalanced, and it just doesn't sit right for me trying to be an audience member, believing that these characters are falling in love, and I'm very soon going to see them kissing in front of Christopher Maloney's character at the rehearsal. Like that just didn't play well for me. Like it came out of kind of nowhere. There wasn't a real good build up to it. The character development between the two of them didn't lead to that moment. And then like I don't know, like they decide to get married at this point after knowing each other for maybe a couple of weeks, and like the wedding's in 2 days, and then of course she runs away again, and then like she has to find herself before she can come back to him. It's like I get it, there's a lot of like women empowerment moment there in the third act, but like and I guess it's different from most rom-coms in a way, kind of. I don't know. Like it just the script itself didn't play well for me, and I felt like the lead actor and actress just didn't care about making a great movie. And so like I know there are people who like it, and I'm happy that they like it. It just didn't vibe for me. And like I guess part of the reason why I thought a lot of people liked it more than they did is because like this movie opened at number one. It made $35 million dollars its opening weekend. It went on to make $150 million dollars in the United States after it was done in theaters, and it made another $150 million dollars overseas. So like $300 million movie in 1999 got it number nine for the full year of 1999. It was the ninth highest grossing movie. So top 10 movie of 1999 as far as grosses go. I believe it's the highest rom-com on that list of 10 top grossing movies of the year. And so like I guess that made me always think that a lot of people really liked it and that I was in the minority for thinking it was so blah. Movie has a great soundtrack, though. We talk a lot about how 90s did a lot of really good soundtracks because this soundtrack has U2, Hall and Oates, Clapton, jeez, can't say his name. Eric Clapton, Billy Joel, Miles Davis, like great 90s soundtrack right there, especially if you're trying to like start getting it on with a girl. Like that's a soundtrack you can kick on and it's got some good tunes on it for to set the mood. So like it's not an unwatchable rom-com. It's not a terrible rom-com. I just don't think it's the best. I don't think it's great. But apparently $300 million worth of people did in 1999. So I would much rather sit back and watch a Pretty Woman. I feel like it's a far superior film. And I feel like the actors and director kind of gave that movie a lot more than they did this time around. So we have another Wednesday release coming up in 5 days. I'll be back to talk about the movie Dick. Not a pornographic film. It's literally about Michelle Williams and Kirsten Dunst somehow getting their dumbasses involved with the Watergate scandal. I have not watched it in a long time, so hopefully I can find it to rewatch and chat about Dick in 5 days.